All right, welcome to the Smiles Ahead podcast, powered by BWC, Burrow Welchel Culp Orthodontics. Today we have our community style, where we bring somebody in from the community. Charlottean, born and raised. Really excited to have you on. David, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, man. So I would tell you what David does, but it's a little hard to put into one basket. I think professional tennis player, real estate agent, entrepreneur, inventor, musician, dad. What am I forgetting?
Crazy.
Yeah. Maybe start his own podcast here soon, just talking about how he just needs to add something else to it. But
You never know.
But yeah, man. So tell me a little bit about. So you grew up in Charlotte, and we have a long history. I've known David forever. He actually was he was the big go-to tennis player guy in our at our tennis club, and ended up playing at Carolina, and went some pro. And kind of what's your story beyond that?
Yeah, so I first of all, once again, thanks again for having me. This is really professional and cool. I like this. I think I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So after the tennis world, if you want to call it, I did play a little bit of pro tournaments and stuff like that, but I didn't obviously make it big time. But it had some fun and had some really nice experiences. I taught tennis for a little bit. Obviously, after that, I got into kind of like wanting to write books. So I wrote my first book on tennis called Before They Play a Grand Slam. And it was a book that our parents probably would have enjoyed reading when we were little. It was a book not on how to play, but more on what to expect being a parent of a kid playing sports.
Oh, that's huge.
It kind of could translate over to many sports for that matter. So that was kind of my first start at writing things. And so I did that, and actually ended up writing a couple more children's books when the kids were born.
Okay.
So I did that as time went on. But after the book thing started going, I started an internet company. I sold that right before I got married, and then from there got into the real estate world, commercial real estate for a long time. And we all remember, I guess, 2008 when the world decided to stop
doing commercial real estate. Yeah.
So people who did real estate had some time on their hands.
Yeah.
So therefore, I started writing music.
Yeah.
And to sum it up really quickly, I guess we're over 3,000 songs since then. I've got my 10th album coming out next year, and so I've been in the music game for a while now. Met some great people. Had my mentors are the Oak Ridge Boys, who I grew up listening to as a kid, and
that's amazing.
It's been a wild ride. I had some really nice, fortunate things happen for me regarding music. I mean, obviously, I'm not Blake Shelton or Taylor Swift, but I've had some really good experiences. I've had some great success at it, and I keep writing and keep performing, recording. But back, I guess, in 2012, right before the Daytona 500, Jimmy Johnson, who everybody loves Jimmy.
Yeah.
I wrote a song about him, and he found out about it, and he tweeted it out before the Daytona 500.
Nice.
Jimmy Johnson Baby is what it was called.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of got on the map. People started finding out about my music.
Yeah.
So I gained a lot of NASCAR fans.
Hey, that's a big group of people.
A lot of people. And then from there, the Oak Ridge Boys and I hooked up and wrote a song about them too. And my gosh, we're like this now. So it's been a wild ride. But I like to say I've done a lot of things, and I've enjoyed doing new things in life and things I can show my kids. If you start something, finish it, and prove to yourself you can do it.
Yeah.
And, when we leave this earth, I mean, I can say I've definitely done
a lot
of things, and that music world really transitioned into what I'm doing now. Still doing music, obviously, but back in 2017, a buddy of mine walked into the men's room of a really nice restaurant in New York, and a guy dropped his cell phone in the one place that you never want to drop your phone.
Yeah, there you go. I knew there was a story behind this, man. There's always a story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He calls me and he goes, David, you need to figure out a way to keep people from dropping their phones. And literally right then is when Spiidergriip was born.
Now, I know that happens a lot. Now, I wanted to ask you this, right? So people always, we call it like, bar talk, where you're sitting around and be like, hey, yeah, we need to do this. You need to invent this. And everybody's we need to start this business. Sure. And then you know, to get some traction on it, take some action. And a lot of people just don't have that action.
Yeah.
Was it right then where you were like, yeah, I'm gonna figure out materials. I'm gonna figure out this, that. Like I'm going in.
100%.
100%.
Well, the way this brain works,
Yeah.
I tell people, I said, maybe I got a half or a whole. I'm not really sure. My brain's all over the place.
Yeah.
But what I have up there, the way it works,
Yeah.
when I get an idea,
Yeah. It's go.
I go with it. Like I've written probably 4 songs this week because I've had things in my brain. I've got to get them done.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll get it. I'll record it at home. I'll call my producer, and he's like, "You got another one?" Like, yeah, we got to get in.
Yeah.
So I was recording yesterday.
Yeah.
So you know, I did. As soon as he said that, I was like, you know what? I can do this because my daughter at the time, you know, she had just gotten her first cell phone. I think she was 12 at the time. She'll be 18 this year, and she came home with a competitive grip on the back of her phone.
Yeah.
And she told me this is going to help me, you know, from dropping my phone. I looked at it, I was like, honey, that's going to make you drop your phone more.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you going to hold something like this? And so, you know, it really, it opened my eyes up to like, how do I hold a phone?
Yeah.
I hold it naturally. I hold it like
And for
this.
those watching on YouTube, you can kind of see
Yeah.
what we're talking about is a nice little, I mean, it's a great design, flaps in there. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so basically I just started thinking about, you know, how would I want to hold a phone? I started talking to people. How do you hold your phone? What are your biggest concerns about your phone? And everybody says, I drop my phone all the time. I crack my screens. And so at the end of the day, I just started drawing out images.
Yeah.
And I'm a terrible drawer, by the way.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm good at a lot of things.
So you're an artist
I'm also
too?
terrible at a lot of things.
Yeah,
I'm not an artist by any stretch. But I started, you know, drawing out hands, how I wanted it to work, and just started, you know, kind of spitballing ideas and just making little things at home. And then one of my close friends I grew up with ends up being a patent attorney at one of the largest firms in the world.
Wow.
Called him up, and he goes, David, I'll tell you, I'm glad to work on this for you, but I'll be honest with you, buddy. He said, if he's listening, he'll laugh at this. He said, the chances of you getting a patent on this are pretty slim. He goes, this is the most competitive industry in the world.
Right, yeah.
Well, I will say we have over 50 patents worldwide now.
Wow.
And I think the thing is that I thought of it differently.
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about a different way.
Right.
And so we were able to kind of, you know, create our own thing that we were able to get IP on.
Yeah.
And so, so it's been a neat ride. That as crazy as my music stories are, the Spiidergriip stories are even crazier. How some relationships I have now in that world.
Now, in terms of mentors and people that you've partnered up with, I know we talked in the past. Is there, you know, cool stories on that? Or
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, locally, I'm very fortunate to have. I've got some private investors. Alan Tate is an investor who, his dad and my dad were very close friends, and so it's been really neat because Alan has known me since I was little.
Yeah.
And now to be working with him on this, I mean, he's a great guy, and I've got some other great private investors that are part of the team. So it's been really neat from that standpoint. But I guess back in 2018, right around when we were, you know, we launched in 2019 officially. But when we were first getting the prototype out, I actually met Kate Bosworth, the actress from Blue Crush. And I met her, and at that time her husband, who's a Hollywood film director, movie and writer-director, Michael Polish, I met them and went to one of their movie premieres.
Okay. Now, was this part of being in the music industry, or how did you get this?
Music.
Okay, so this is where your worlds collide.
This is where the worlds collide. So,
so
music was crazy because I actually was talking to Michael's agent about him doing a music video for me, which is so wild. It was just because I was actually initially talking to Mina Savari about her maybe being in this music video, and it never happened. And I think she's awesome. And she had set me up with her agent to talk to her agent. He also ended up being the agent for Michael. Yeah. And he said, "Hey, I've got a director who'd be interested in doing your music video." We started talking. Next thing you know, I'm at a movie premiere for Kate and Michael's movie at the Richmond Film Festival. They ended up becoming investors in the company. So long before we launched, I guess they initially their public, you know, kind of deal came out in probably 2020, right before COVID. So that's kind of how that relationship started, which was it's just weird how all that happened.
Yeah.
And so they're still both part of the company.
Oh, nice.
Really cool there. And then I guess, as we moved on through, I guess this is the craziest. A very good friend of mine in the music industry, dear close friend of mine, she introduced me to the head of Pitbull's global operations for all of his business he's involved in. So she and another good friend of mine, so a guy and a girl in the music industry, they kind of set me up with a meeting.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him, and the next thing you know, I'm in Miami and meeting with Armando Christian Perez. It was the neatest thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
And he became an investor in the company, I guess, in 2021.
Nice.
So that's, music
Yeah.
brought all that kind of stuff together. And a lot of great people. Everybody's been just a very important and integral part of the company. But the stories I have are sometimes hard to believe.
Yeah.
But they're true.
And I think it seems like you're real good at maybe seeing opportunities, but just putting yourself out there. I feel like a lot of people would have been maybe not made that phone call to that director. Maybe not. Is that kind of your how you can operate?
Well, I'll say this, and that's a good thing you bring up. I tell this to my kids. I said, never be afraid to ask for that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Never be afraid to ask that question, because you never know what the answer is going to be. If I had not have talked to Mina about possibly being in a music video, I never would have talked to her agent. I never would have talked to Michael. Never would have met Kate, obviously.
Yeah.
And had I not been in music, my two friends in the music industry would never have introduced me to Pitbull's folks. All that stuff, it all comes together, and it's just about taking that chance. So when I look back now, that first song I wrote, and going, why did I do all this?
Yeah.
And I look now and I go, well, David, that's how all this came together.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it works, but the stories I have, they're fun to tell because they're true, and they show you what happens when you just you throw something out there.
Take some opportunity.
You take that chance, and some of the relationships I have now are just, they're amazing, all from little chances I took.
Mm-hmm.
A really good friend of mine who I think the world of, her name's Gretchen Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
Gretchen, obviously, people know her all over the world. Years ago, when South Park Mall decided to take down the Christmas tree, I wrote a song with the kids when they were little. Called Have a Holly Jolly Glacier. It went viral. I was on national news for 2 weeks.
There you go.
And I ended up writing the theme song for her book, Be Fierce. So
wow.
It's crazy how these things work. And so these wonderful people that are in my life now, I attribute that. A lot of it goes back to music, but a lot of it goes back to just, not being afraid to talk to somebody. I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
As you can tell,
not afraid to talk. Right? Yeah.
I talk to everybody, and it's so important because you learn a lot about people that way.
Mm.
You learn how to talk to all kinds of different people. Everybody, do more of that. It'd be a lot better in the world, but it's fun.
Yeah, and it seems like just hearing your story, maybe music, because I always look at people that go up and they do music. Maybe they're not that good yet, but they do it in front of people. It takes it takes that courage, that step to jump off the hill and be like, hey, I'm going to sing in front of people, because you could do it in your room all day long. But then you do it in front of, even like a room of people, it's kind of like, oh, God, am I going to mess this up? But you just got to go in, and then that kind of leads you into being able to have confidence into other things, right?
Yeah, because when you perform, I remember my very first show, this is funny, the store's no longer there, but at Cotswold Shopping Center, there was a toy store there.
Mm-hmm. I remember it.
It actually, I guess the toy store's still there. It's a different name now.
That's when the Cotswold was inside.
Yeah. So I actually had a little concert for children in this toy store back in like 2000 and, I don't know, long time. 2000 and a long time ago. 10, 11, I don't know. And, since then I've played in Nashville at Country Music Fest. I've played in New York at the AOL Center for Gretchen's book launch. Obviously I've played lots of shows.
Yeah.
So getting out there that first time, whether it's in front of 5 people, honestly, I'll be honest with you, playing in front of 5 people makes you more nervous than playing in front of 500.
Yeah.
And I've never played in front of 50,000 people.
Right.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of concerts.
Watch that concert, yeah. I'd be like,
Taylor
maybe I
Swift.
can do that. Yeah. Exactly.
Saw her twice
Have you been to the
this
show?
year.
All right.
2 nights in a row.
Is it worth the hype?
Unbelievable.
I've heard. I haven't had one person say that it wasn't worth the hype.
Charlotte and I went to Atlanta. We did 2 nights in a row.
2 nights in a row,
and
yeah.
It was off the charts. But yeah, I mean, taking that leap, you know, and getting in front of somebody. Like if I were to have my guitar and play in front of you right now,
Yeah.
I'd much rather play in front of the entire city of Charlotte. I like playing in front of you too. It's fun.
Yeah.
I love performing, but the feeling you get, it's different. I know when my son was in the Scouts, Wright and I, you know, we go every whatever it was, Tuesday, Wednesday night, and we actually wrote a song for like all the Boy Scouts across the country, and called "The Life of a Boy Scout." And when we did that, we had to perform that. We performed at the national banquet and everything from the generals and the army and all kinds of stuff. But the most pressure-filled ever was when we performed it at Scouts troop meeting in front of 10 kids.
10 kids.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, it's those little things like that. But it's
What a cool lesson for Wright, your son, to be able to have you be able to give that confidence to him to be able to play in front of people and, you know, take that leap of, you know, because I mean, it's a tough thing to do.
It is, and I think, you know, coming up, I was forced to be around a lot of different people playing tennis.
Yep.
As you know, you were there too, and you know, like when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, I was playing with a lot of adults.
Yep.
Your dad.
Yep.
And I talked. You know, I was talking to adults when I was 13, 14 years old.
Right.
I talked all the time to so many different people with so many different backgrounds.
Yep.
Doctors, salesmen, lawyers, whatever. I was playing tennis with all these guys. And so growing up, I talked to so many different people, and I tried to learn so much. And a lot of those people helped me out. You know, it's one of those things like you get used to doing it.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting though, because when I look back and I see all the stuff that's happened with this, it goes back to music so much. And so now I'm like, that's why, you know, obviously, I mean, I write music because people do like to listen to it.
Right.
Some of them do at least.
So there's somebody out there, right? Yeah.
But in general, though, you know, that's really kind of like how a lot of this stuff came to be today. And like I said, we've had some great successes with Spiidergriip. We were on Joey Mangano's America's Big Deal in 2021. We were the first presenter ever on that show, live on USA. I mean, the experience
pressure.
of a lifetime.
That's awesome.
And that was 100% live. I mean, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you pitched to America.
Yeah.
Talk about amazing.
Yeah.
That was the single most incredible experience I've ever had in my life. And I had my big wrestler buddies, Zane and Dave Dawson, wrestling with their phones on their hand.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm like an announcer showing how they can wrestle and not drop their phones. It was just amazing. So we've, in just a few short years, all the things that have happened. And, you know, now we've got some really big things we're working on right now. We've got some huge things. We'll be live on Walmart.com in the next, probably next week or so.
Oh, sweet.
And we're hoping to get in stores sometime soon with them, but we're in a lot of stores now across the country. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I was going to ask what's going on, but it sounds like some big stuff.
We do. We've got a lot of big things going. You know, the stores that are carrying us are doing very well.
Yeah.
More cell phone stores right now. Now we're working on the big box stores.
Yep.
We're on Amazon, our website and stuff, but you know, like I said, we'll be live with Walmart probably next week. So it's an ever changing thing every day. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I've got some new inventions coming out. Got a magnetic grip coming out you can take on and off. And
so you're not stopping.
we've got lots of stuff coming.
Yeah.
We've got lots of stuff coming.
Yeah. I figured you're not a stopping type of guy. There's going to be a next thing. So, I'll wrap it up by asking, you know, especially a guy like you, where people could learn a lot from.
Yeah.
A younger guy, maybe not even younger, just somebody with entrepreneur or has an idea. What would you say your most encouraging first steps would be, or how would you encourage that person to move forward and go through? Because there is a lot of red tape you got to jump through to get patents and this and that. And was it worth it? Basically?
Worth it 100%.
Yeah. And if you fail, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Right? Yeah.
Once you take that first step, you can show yourself you can do anything. I had no clue what I was doing with this.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. But I talked to people. I wasn't afraid to ask those questions. I wrote everything down.
Yeah.
And I picked up the phone and I called people. I met with people.
Took action, right?
Took action.
Yeah.
But if you have an idea, if you're an entrepreneur, you have lots of ideas.
Yeah.
Write them all down. I had so many ridiculous ideas before this.
Yeah.
That made no sense at all.
Yeah.
But I went through the process, and I was like, no, it's definitely not going to.
Yeah.
That's not the one.
Right.
But then eventually you'll get there.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to fail.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to fail, it's not the right thing for you. Not the right thing.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, I've kept you a long time. We have a great product here. It's going live on Walmart, but it's already on Amazon. You can go to their website. So we'll put all this in the show notes, and we might even give out a few of these. If you put some comments on there, I might buy a few from my boy David here, and then we'll give some out. So if you throw some comments, throw some subscriptions, we'll pick a few people out, and we'll send you some Spiidergriips.
We'll be glad to donate some to y'all for sure, and big thanks to you and your whole family for keeping my teeth straight, my children's teeth straight, and my brother's teeth straight.
There you go. Now I do always ask this. I almost forgot. What about your product? Now this is probably an easy question. What about your product makes our community smile? Probably not breaking it, right?
Exactly right. When you can come home from a long day's work and you know you don't have to buy a phone screen.
There you go.
Or you go on vacation and you catch the fish and your phone does not end up where the fish lives. You're smiling when you get back.
You're smiling when you get back. Yeah. That's it. Well, David, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. All right, man. Thanks for listening to the Smiles Ahead podcast powered by Burrow Welchel Culp Orthodontics. Be sure to leave a rating, hit that subscribe button, and if you have more questions, you can reach out to me directly at sam@bwcortho.com. That's sam@bwcortho.com. You can also visit our website, bwcortho.com, and we will be happy to answer any questions you might have.